And Geiger and Kalter-Veridis to replace Don Givens, who's retired, and Uli Stielicke, who has severe knee problems. Their captain, Heinz Hermann, is Switzerland's most stylish midfield player. And in attack, there's another expensive acquisition, well known to our viewers of Dutch football on Sky Channel, René van der Gijp from PSV Eindhoven. So the final of the 1987 Philips Cup is underway. And Beat Suter having some problems with the Samba troop, who are just straying onto the pitch, doing a bit of extra defending for Grêmio. A little bit more on the Grêmio team in a moment, but I have to tell you that they only have 2 substitutes tonight, because 4 of the squad are, we understand, being held in jail in Bern after an alleged incident in the team's hotel last night. Only one of the 4, Fernando, started the semi-final against Benfica. 2 others, Henrique and Cuca, were substitutes, and the other is Eduardo, the reserve goalkeeper. So there's no substitute goalkeeper for Grêmio tonight. Maybe you'll read more of that story in your papers tomorrow morning. It's cast a little bit of a shadow over Grêmio, as you would understand, but I'm sure now they'll concentrate on the football and the task of beating Neuchâtel. And this is Lima, who scored both goals in the semi-final. He's quick, he's done the 100 meters in less than 11 seconds, very direct, and possibly, but for some of the politics of Brazilian football, which I'm sure many of you know are hard to fathom sometimes, possibly would have already been a full international by now. He's one to keep your eye on this evening. Alain Geiger came to Neuchâtel in the summer from Servette. Heinz Hermann. Mazzaropi, the goalkeeper, is one of the team which played in 1983 in Tokyo in the World Club Championship, when Grêmio beat Hamburg. Cristobal. Whereas Neuchâtel are building, of course, for their fight to retain their title. The Swiss season starts on August the 8th. Grêmio come fresh from some very intense competition. They've won their state championship, which is the way Brazilian football is played over the first half of the year. They've won the title in Rio Grande do Sul, right in the south of that vast nation. They've won it for the 3rd time in a row. They're not always the most flamboyant of Brazilian teams, although they certainly have their moments, but they do have a happy knack of winning tournaments, and they're looking to add the Philips Cup to their list of trophies. Claude Reef at left back for Neuchâtel, and Alain Geiger, the libero. Kalter-Veridis wearing number 4, René van der Gijp is number 9, and 15 for Grêmio is João Antonio, overhitting his pass. In the semi-final, Neuchâtel played 90 minutes of goalless football against young boys of Bern, and then won the penalty shootout. Lima, there's a player over here, and it's Georges Verras, but he just was let down by his first touch on the ball, and Patrice Mottier got back just in the nick of time. And that's given away rather uncharacteristically by Heinz Hermann. Oh, that's Georges Verras darting through the middle, and Grêmio's quality in full evidence there. Right for the heart of Xamax, and the goalkeeper should get some credit for coming out so quickly and forcing Verras to put it wide. The goalkeeper is Joao Commanboeuf, who was very much to the fore in that penalty shootout win over Young Boys of Bern. Down goes little Robert Luti. But the decision is a goal kick. The pitch here in marvellous condition. So we can have a look at the Xamax lineup. Kaltavarides of Greek origin. Lei Rebello in midfield with Heinz Hermann. And Beat Suter up front with Van der Hyp and Luti. Bonamigo pulling the strings in midfield for Grêmio. Ahead of him, Lima had to check back to stay onside, and that was why it broke down. So this is Claude Rief, currently Switzerland's left back. If you're looking at Xamax really for the first time, their style is very much in the manner of keeping the ball. They're patient in their build-up, but they're not frightened to allow their defenders to join in further forward. Really is a style that's a credit to their very experienced coach, Gilbert Gress. And Xamax, as I was saying earlier, champions of Switzerland for the first time in the club's history. So there's a real bubble about the club at the moment. China, the captain for Grêmio, anchoring midfield with the long pass there that was cut out. Montier. Some early sparring really here between the two teams, with some 7 minutes gone. If you've just joined us, it's the final of the Philips Cup in the Bankdorf Stadium in Bern. Xamax Neuchâtel in white against Grêmio from Brazil. Now, René van der Hyp is a free kick specialist. A quick look at the Grêmio team. But as I say, only 2 substitutes on their bench tonight because of off-the-field problems. Here is Van der Hyp, and he's hit it beautifully. Flipped over the bar by Mazzaropi. Well, René van der Hyp didn't start the semi-final. He was left out, and maybe he's got a point to prove here. That was a great effort. Heinz Hermann with the corner. Lei Rebello, who has an eye for goal from midfield, was going in. Philippe Perret. João Antonio. George Verras with room to turn, and the danger for Xamax is Lima lurking with that perception, really. Sometimes in wide positions, sometimes through the middle. But there's a nice open feel to the football now. Kaltavarides and Luti. Not quite the acceleration to exploit half an opportunity then, as the ball dropped beyond him. Bonamigo. China. Christovau is the player making the forward run down the near side, watched by Geiger. Van der Hyp. Linking up well with Ferre. Well, it wasn't aimed for Luti. It nearly fell his way. Reef. Well, although Brazil, in terms of their international team at the moment, are at something of a low ebb. They lost to Chile recently in the South American Championship by 4-0. There's still that excitement when the players from that country take the field and when their supporters bring their own particular brand of fanaticism to the stadium. And beauty too, in some respects. George Ferraz, Lima coming into the middle, Reef having to do the covering, and he was stretched. Beatsuta. Asking a little bit too much of Mottier. Well, there have been one or two accusations in the newspapers this morning here in Bern from the coach, Gilbert Gress, that René van der Heijp is a little bit on the lazy side so far. But he's not been lazy at the outset of this game. There's never been any doubting his talent. Although the label of enfant terrible is not inappropriate, really. Well, some thoughtful faces on the Grêmio bench. Plenty of coaching staff there, medical staff, but not too many players. Antonio couldn't really control it. Lei Ravello did better for Xamax, and Heinz Hermann always blessed with a good first touch on the ball. Reef unable to make up the ground, and it wasn't really his fault. The pass was always angling away from him. Attacking in numbers, Grêmio here. Casemiro, the left back, on the far side. Lima, and almost an own goal. The flag was up in any case, but Aman Geiger, I think it was, facing his own goal. Lima knocked it across, but the player to the right there was offside. Geiger wasn't to know that. Agapios Kaltavaridis, born in Greece, but thinking now of taking up Swiss nationality because the Greek national team coaches haven't been coming to Switzerland to watch him play. He wants to play international football. Well, with the long hair there, it's Fernando Astengo, the Chilean, getting in quickly to win the ball back. Joined Grêmio in February and recently helped Chile to become runners-up in the South American Championship. He got sent off in the final, in fact, against Uruguay. Rather blotted his copybook there, but otherwise had an excellent tournament. So with almost 15 minutes gone, the match looking well balanced. Gress perhaps a little bit concerned about the way his side's defended so far. Van der Heijp picking out Heinz Hermann. Grêmio from the very south of Brazil, where their temperament is a little bit more like the Argentinian rather than the real flamboyant Rio types. They're very hard-working in their approach to the game of football. So here's Reef, Uti and Suter in the middle, and Suter. It looked close. Casemiro was alongside him and might have just got in a timely nudge. But however much they change the tactics of football, the cross to the far post will always be a weapon that is likely to bring a goal. Amigo. He really is Grêmio's free kick specialist, and always prepared as he was then to try a shot from distance. Berna. Pulling of the strings in midfield for Xamax, coming from Heinz Hermann. And do I really have to identify him for you? Maybe some of the youngsters, and in fact you can't see him at the moment, but it was Eusebio, one of football's genuine legends, who's now one of the Benfica coaches. And Jan Rietman at the start of the programme was talking to Ebbe Skovdal, who's had 2 weeks in charge of Benfica, coming from Denmark. Big challenge ahead of him. But no disrespect to Benfica that they finished 4th in this tournament. Football has been of high quality. João Antonio. China feinting to shoot with the left foot and then changing his mind. And that's lovely skill by Jorge Ferraz. He'll be a little bit disappointed with the cross. Good anticipation by Corman Burf in the Xamax goal, but he would have been in severe difficulties had it been cut back further away from him. Geiger. Heinz Hermann looking for some movement around him, and opted to use René van der Heijp. Suter on the far side, he wanders the width of the pitch to try and make space for himself, and he's an intelligent forward. So a look at China, wearing the captain's armband for Grêmio. And some concern on the face of João Antonio, the thumbs up to the bench. Maybe a little word about his role, because I don't think he would have started the game, but for the problem that has landed for Grêmio players in the custody of the Bern City Police. Hermann. Neuchâtel trying to build from the back, not wanting to just hit the ball forward. And it's interesting that Van der Hyp has pulled out from a central striking role. He isn't really an out-and-out centre forward. He's got a lot of his goals for PSV coming from wide positions, and in a wide position here for Grêmio, and really threatening Neuchâtel is George Veras. Cristobal going to the near post. Lovely goal. And the best defence in Switzerland last season was pulled apart. Cristobal heading into the empty net, and he's gone to congratulate George Veras. Grêmio manufacturing a counter-attack here, and he looked and he looked and he waited. The cross took out the goalkeeper. Cristobal in the perfect position. 1-0 to Grêmio with 21 minutes gone. Lima was waiting on the edge, but really in the threatening position, and getting the reward for the run was Cristobal. So are we going to have a Brazilian triumph in the Phillips Cup? It's happened before. Grêmio were here last year, but they didn't win it. But Atlético Mineiro back in 1983 and Botafogo in 85 made off with the Phillips Cup against some formidable opposition. A long way to go yet. Van der Hyp. Tavares. Well, the goal came when Xamax were trying to put their passes together. And the danger is there is so much speed in the Grêmio raiding that Xamax have to be careful not to be caught again. They've given the ball away. It was Motier who was the culprit. It's 3 against 3. The same 3 who were involved before for Grêmio. Cristobal. Now Bonamigo joining in. Alfinete. Everyone wants to try a trick or two. Everyone wants to get in on the act. But here's Alan Geiger restoring some order to the Xamax defending. Tavares, who needs no second bidding really to become an extra player in midfield, although he's ostensibly a defender. Pere. Luti. Suta. Forward players having to show their mobility now, because if they stand upfield and wait for the ball to be delivered, it might be a long wait. It did reach Van der Hyp, Le Ravello rather, who was with the back header, but the whistle had already gone. So, João Antonio, we can have a look at him. He was in the Brazilian side that won the World Youth Championship in Moscow in 1985. Bonamigo, a more experienced player in midfield for Grêmio. He was in Tokyo in 83. Many of these players, I'm sure, viewers haven't seen so often before, but I hope you'll remember them from what you've seen tonight. Lima. Casemiro now Jorge Verras. Lima making his way into the middle to join Cristobal. And Jorge Verras at the moment giving Motier a difficult time, although some sympathetic applause for the Neuchâtel defender then, because he did win that little battle. But the whistle didn't go, as Heinz Hermann wanted it. And Lima should have made it too. Of all players, Heinz Hermann should have known not to stop. And the danger still hasn't passed. Jorge Verras, Caltavaridis, not championship stuff from Xamax at the moment. This is Cristobal, unselfishly laying it off to Lima. But Coman-Boeuf was able to kick it away when Lima should have buried it. At the moment, this man, Jorge Verras, is a real thorn in the side of Xamax Neuchâtel. Finete. Lay Ravello. Van der Hype is the type of player who's at his most effective when he's facing the opponent's goal. He's not a natural shielder of the ball. He wants to attack defenders and get the sort of passes that you're only likely really to get in wider positions. But he's condemned at the moment to a central role. Cristobal, Lima. Finete, who had a marvellous game in the semi-final. Oh, and now Reef. Dear, oh dear, they are taking a chance or two at the back. To be fair to Xamax, possibly they're just a little bit short of the level of fitness that Grêmio brought here. Battle-hardened after 48 games in the Rio Grande do Sul State Championship, which they won last weekend. But then, of course, the Brazilians are suffering from a little bit of jet lag. Lima was not offside. Coman-Boeuf uses a hand outside the area. So, once again, Xamax, a defender or two light, having committed men forward. And Coman-Boeuf having to resort to drastic actions. Maybe he thought about heading it, and he possibly wouldn't have won that duel against Lima. So he did the right thing, even at the cost of a free kick. But a free kick against the Brazilian side from this sort of range can mean trouble. As I say, Bonamigo is the one who's been rattling in the goals from set plays back in Brazil. As Xamax set their wall. But in the end, it was taken by Cristobal. Bonamigo was the decoy. Well, he's hungry for goals. His appetite whetted by giving Grêmio the lead, and Bonamigo brought down by Pere, and it's going to mean a yellow card. For Philippe Pere. So this is not exhibition stuff, it's a real competition. And there was no suggestion of letting the player get away then by Pere. China. Confirmation from the public address system here that the crowd is indeed 20,000. when you think that the average First Division attendance in Switzerland last season was 5,000, it shows what an attraction this type of competition is to the football lovers of the Swiss capital. Suter. Muti coming towards the near post. Here's Reef. Well, I think Van der Hyp had lost the ball, but he was certainly impeded. Well, the drummers behind the goal have their rhythm, but Claude Reef and his teammates haven't really found theirs. Grêmio, the more authoritative side in the opening half an hour. Here's Reef. Carey wanting to join in again. And Alfinete was just a little bit on the lucky side, getting the ball at the second attempt. And ahead of Bonamigo, plenty of movement from Grêmio. Lima. Varidis was the player caught out of position. And Lima wanted to go the direct route. He was entitled to do it, really. But Alan Geiger a little too cagey for him. That's given away, and they haven't given much away, Grêmio. Christoval, the culprit. Heinz Hermann. And Suter showing his strength to get away from Casemiro, but the covering player was China. Hermann, Suter, a lot of players to his left for Xamax. Van der Hyp is one. Now Motier. But Grêmio had everyone but Lima behind the ball. They're going to take some breaking down, but Le Ravello was hoping to be able to do that. Mazzaropi calms things down. Astengo had really done the difficult defending to get the ball back to the goalkeeper. It'll be worth keeping an eye on the Grêmio goalkeeper Mazzaropi, because in the semi-final he was penalised for taking too many steps. Benfica scored from the subsequent free kick, which was only about 7 metres from the goal, just tapped aside to Carlos Manuel, who somehow found a way through the line of defenders on the line. You might have seen that in our programme of highlights on Sky Channel last night. Suter. Reef with a chance to get the cross in. Back from Motier, but no one on the far side from his viewpoint. Hermann attracting the loose ball in midfield like a magnet. Le Ravello. Well, it looks like a stray pass, and of course it was, but you have to pay tribute to the organisation of Grêmio. Casemiro on the left side of their defence, but it's a defence that is particularly well organised, finely tuned, and it withstood a lot of pressure in the semi-final. Benfica, having got back to 2-1 with the goal that I just described to you, threw everything into the last 20 minutes of the match, but they made very few clear-cut chances against the defence organised by these gentlemen. The coach Luis Felipe and his team. with the throw. Good turn from Suter. Now, can Van der Hype strike one? Well, he wants the return pass, and he very nearly got it from Le Ravello. But with one pass, Grêmio have shown the ability to spring forward. You don't become a state champion in Brazil for 3 years running, as Grêmio have done, without having real pedigree. George Veras making Xamax look a little naive at the back again. But the strongest card in their defending has been Geiger, and for Gilbert Gress, one or two lessons being learnt here, which I'm sure will stand the team in good stead when they get underway in the Swiss Championship. Even before that starts, they play in the Super Cup here against the Cup winners, Young Boys of Bern, who beat Servette in the Swiss Cup final at the end of last season. That Super Cup game, I understand, is next Tuesday in Neuchâtel. Heinz Hermann. Stengo was again really darting in to deny Suter. Having done that part of the job, it's the verve and the flair further forward that so far is winning them the game. George Veras had the first shot saved. Bonamigo was trying to pounce on the rebound. But good work twice by Cormando. Geiger was again trying to plug the gaps, in vain this time, but the goalkeeper was the last line of defence, and an effective one. Only in his early 20s, but great hopes that he will develop and become the #1 goalkeeper in Switzerland. Grêmio of Porto Alegre leading Xamax Neuchâtel by 1-0. Cristobal, the scorer. Here's Reef. But there was just 2 to aim for in the penalty area, Luti and Suter. And Geiger isn't sure, but manufactured something, but is it enough? Because Cristobal, oh dear, he made the wrong decision then. Another goal was his for the taking, and he really wasn't selfish enough. After Geiger had to hook the ball away over his shoulder, but only succeeded in playing it straight to Cristobal. Hermann. Mortier, can he keep it in? He can. That looked a promising moment for Xamax, but it would be some injustice if they got level by half-time. It's been Grêmio's half. Bonamigo, George Veras, and Luis Eduardo, the centre-back, had seen an opportunity to join in with his frontman, Casemiro. Maybe a gap or two, no, because João Antonio, who's a real tiger in the tackle, filled in the right place. But there is some room now for Reef. Luti going ahead of him, but in fact running towards the space that Reef wanted to exploit. And a free kick given and a yellow card shown to Alfinete, but it didn't help Reef, who'd got away, and in fact had really punished Neuchâtel, because now Grêmio are back in full force. In from Herman, Mazzaropi is hesitating, but it's his ball now. That's a push by Alfinete on Herman. Again, a good supporting player, good team man, who's recovered from a broken leg in an incident with Dieter Jacobs of Hamburg. There were some fears at the time for Pere's future in the game. Herman. For Lima against Caltavarides, and Xamax taking their life into their own hands again by just leaving the one defender. There was no cover if Lima had got away. And there have been many of those type of attacks by Grêmio in this first half. The counter punchers with a lot of weight behind their blows. Three minutes of the first half remaining. Bonamigo. And Reef alert enough to get back ahead of Cristobal. Van der Heijden having to come deep to get into the game. Geiger. He wasn't picked up, but Astengo is such a strong defender, and he can link up with Lima perhaps here. He's got Cristobal to his right, onside, but the cross was a weak one. João Antonio. Bonamigo, Astengo still able to help out now in midfield. He scored in the semi-final of the South American Championship. A crucial goal it was in extra time too against Colombia, an equaliser. Chile then scored again in their next attack to go through to the final against Uruguay. Streak about João Antonio's play, which his coach I'm sure will like. Naturally destructive player, and you have to have them in your team most of the time, and certainly in this match he's done it within the framework of the laws of the game and let the others do the playing, and there have been plenty of those willing to do that. Cristobal. China. Oh, it was Montier who missed it. George Veras, Bonamigo. Free waiting for the cross for Grêmio, but Caltavarides, having done the defending, has just given the ball away. Casemiro, and the bounce was spiteful to Corman Burf, who showed the value to any young goalkeepers watching of getting your body in line with the shot. It really spat up at him. Savio keeping an eye on the clock, as well as the referee. stoppage time at the end to this tournament so far. The European teams in particular sharpening their sense of competition. Grêmio coming here in full training, and it's showing. Oh, Van der Hyp, having given the ball to Herman, went darting down the touchline, but didn't get the return pass. So they're still trying to bed his skills into the team formation. Here is René van der Hyp, who certainly can shoot if he gets into some openings, but he'll need others to create those for him. It does look as though Perret is at least starting the second half in the right back position. Mottier was given something of a harrowing time by George Verras. Lei Ravello, his father used to be president of Lausanne, and there were some cynics who said that his son really only got a start in football because of his dad. But young Robert Lei Ravello has really proved his worth and silenced the doubters. He's also a trained lawyer as well, so quite a talented all-round individual. Cristobal stopped by Geiger. Again, just to remind you, if you've switched over to see our football on Sky Channel, but Grêmio are leading Xamax, Neuchâtel, by a goal to nil. A couple of minutes into the second half. And plenty to keep the crowd absorbed. China. Lima, not this time. His two goals were interesting ones in the semi-final. One really was a fluke, and he was trying to cross the ball with the outside of the right foot, and it fooled a rather nervy Benfica goalkeeper, Silvano. And the second one, I think to a lot of observers, including me, Lima was offside, but the flag stayed down, and he went on to score, and Benfica just couldn't come back from those two blows. George Verras and Geiger, a quality defender, a real fixture in the Swiss side, and a very significant move in the transfer market from Servette. Under the terms of his contract, he was a free agent in the summer, and doubtless is a richer young man now. So too is René van der Hyp. But the fans, of course, expect value for money. And that's always the problem for imported players. Bonamigo. Lima this time given offside. You might have seen him reacting verbally then in the direction of the referee. He got 15 goals in the championship, the local championship in the south of Brazil, but he also got 9 yellow cards and was sent off in one game, so he's maybe got to keep his temper. Here he is, Lima. George Verras ahead of him through the middle, and somehow a pass was squeezed by Lima through a very congested area, and George Verras again found room where there should have been none, and it needed Reef to come across and restore some order. Suter, Van der Hyp, Luti making a decoy run. Sutter. Getting the better of Luis Eduardo. Luti missed it. René van der Heijp. And Astengo blocked it with his chest. And another typical piece of defending by the Chilean when the goal was beckoning for the Dutchman. And at the other end, Cristobal makes it 2-0, and that's football. It could have been 1-1. And now Grêmio have a lead, which is going to take some pulling back. Well, René van der Heijp will be reflecting on this. Astengo did tremendously well, though, to keep the ball out. And Grêmio swept upfield. And here is Cristobal with the easiest goal he'll ever score. And Xamax now have to climb a mountain. Cristobal's second goal of the game, 6 minutes into the second half. And really it's very similar to what happened in the semi-final. One felt that Benfica, who were a goal down at half-time, as Xamax were here, would come out right from the off from the second half to pull it back. But Grêmio got the break and got an early goal in the second half. And we'll see now what the Swiss champions are made of. Bruno Gala having to step in. Just a minor episode between João Antonio and Luti. Here's Herman. I just wonder, had he moved to play in an even bigger footballing country, what he might have achieved in the game. But he's preferred to stay loyal to Swiss football, and credit to him for that. And you might have heard the ball landing right on our microphone. Good play from Herman. And again, penalty. So the captain comes up with a moment of inspiration. Astengo brought him down. And really a moment of great need, having gone the 2 goals behind. But Herman wanted to take defenders on in the penalty area, and there's always a chance then of getting something like that. This was the first run. He lost it then, blocked by Astengo, but when he got it back, Herman wasn't settling for second best. He wanted to go again, impeded by Astengo. Some referees might have given that as obstruction. And up to the ball is Le Ravello. And this really is a crucial moment to bring Xamax Neuchâtel back into the final of the Philips Cup. This for 2-1. It is. Uncomplicated in the method. Straight down the middle. Adopting the principle that the goalkeeper will dive one way, he won't stand still, that's for sure. And it was in the gap just where Mazzaropi had been standing. Cristobal in chasing a hat-trick. So, we have the possibility now, and indeed the probability, of a real finish to a competition that's always been absorbing. Astengo. China. Why Cristobal has been difficult to pin down is that he's not operated too much as a out-and-out forward player for Grêmio. He's been happy to just drop off a little bit, and he hasn't been picked up really by a defender or by a midfield man. He's in that halfway house position that he's using to great effect. Lima. Oh. George Veras must have sensed the chance then as the ball came back across the face of the goal, but Verrides did enough to get it behind for the corner. One or two gasps from the Swiss supporters as to how he did it. That looked a foul on the goalkeeper by China. But the Brazilian swerve on the ball from the corner by George Veras came in towards Coleman Burff like a missile. Goalkeeper had luck on his side then with the short goal kick. And Geiger was a two-footed tackle on João Antonio. And he gets a stern word of warning because he'd overrun the ball, really. I think as you look again, he followed through with one foot up and the other leg wasn't far behind. And those are the over-the-ball tackles that cause damage. I believe Alan Geiger knew he'd lost the ball. It was all a little bit messy from the goalkeeper, but Geiger obviously enthusiastic to drive on again for Xamax, but it wasn't his ball, and look, you could see every stud, and João Antonio felt them, but he's a tough little customer. And that's a corner. Could mean a problem for Coleman Burff because George Veras has gone across to take it. And in all probability, it's going to be another curving in-swinger. But lower this time, not cleanly struck. Sutter. And who's there to win it back but João Antonio? Bonamigo. Still plenty of players in the middle for Grêmio, for George Veras to find. Lima is one, and just as he was about to pull the trigger, the ball was taken from him, and a reaction on the bench from Gilbert Gress. Maybe pleased with the late bit of defending, but not with the way that Lima was given the space initially. Motier got a foot to it. Bonamigo. That's a difficult one for Coleman Burff, not the way the ball dropped, but because he was conscious in his eye line of Cristoval's presence. Good piece of concentration. Lutin. drop deep. Robert Luthi, who scored more First Division goals for Xamax Neuchâtel than any other player in the club's history. And another goal in this competition from him would not come amiss. Mortier. Hit Astengo. But always the intriguing possibility here. And I'm sure those waving the Brazilian flags know it only too well, that if Neuchâtel commit too many players forward, as to some extent they have to try and at least take the game into a penalty shootout, then these pacey Grêmio forwards will be streaking down on the Corman Burf goal again. Mortier. Herman. Foul on Lima. Or was it? No. Handball against Lima. He's a little perplexed. Firm control, and then the thumbs up and the smile from a referee who has scaled the heights in his side of the game as a FIFA official, Bruno Gallo. Tavares sending it long. Mortier's flicked header finds Herman offside. Patrice Mortier has played for Switzerland. Lima. Cristobal. And Pere now in the right back position. And Mortier covering as well. Herman. At the height, trying to use his power. And Herman did manage to make contact with the ball and directed it quite close to Luthi. But Grêmio were there first. Although Grêmio had a long and tiring journey last weekend to come here from Brazil for this competition, I don't think somehow they'll fade too much because they're bred on hard work. In 1986, they played 92 official matches. 92. They really had to sing for their supper. So they're used to the demands of match practice. They're used to the sound of the samba as well, which just for a moment has been switched off. I'm sure it'll only be temporary. Here's Suter. Now Bon Amigo. Lima doing his share of the defending. It has been a defensive unit for Grêmio, but they've got energy to burn when they get forward. George Ferraz, and Lima was hoping to finish it off. Corman Burf was aware of the danger as well. Geiger, that's a fine ball for Suter. The angle was a little bit against him. There wasn't a great deal on in the middle, in that Luthi, who had got into a central position, might have been a little bit difficult to find. but the percentage is really with the ball across the face of the goal. Sutter tried to do the difficult thing, and it was a charge from Xamax enough to reawaken the Grêmio supporters. But having criticised Beat Sutter a little there, he of course would have been a hero if the shot had flowed past Mazzaropi into the back of the net. You have to buy a ticket to win the raffle, and forwards have to shoot to score goals. Well, they're watching it on a television monitor down there, the television monitor that Jan Rietman is using in his touchline position, so they can see everything. Here's Lima. The third goal for Grêmio, and that might be too much for Xamax. Lima is offside. For the viewers back in Holland who might be wondering how people in Neuchâtel are taking to René van der Gijp, who's on the ball here, I can tell you that he's already had a pizza named after him, which I suppose is some sort of honour. Astengo now. It's 4 against Alain Geiger and Corman Boeuf. And Astengo, the goalkeeper, did marvellously well. He's going to be penalised, but Astengo, a free spirit from the back, who just loves to charge forward when the opportunity presents itself, and in fact no free kick given, and rightly so when we looked at it again. But everybody in the ground, I think, thought Grêmio were going to put the match beyond Xamax then, and in truth they should have done. China. 2-1 to Grêmio. Both these club sides very much in the habit of winning. It's a nice habit to have, bred by highly competitive players. No one's going to lay down here. Geiger. And I think the fact that we've had no substitutions is another indication of how seriously the two coaches are taking the game. It's going to be a little bit difficult for Grêmio to make any substitutions because they've only got 2 alternatives on the bench, and one of those players, Gaucho, only arrived in Bern at 3:30 this afternoon. The reason he was called in was because Grêmio set off on Sunday without their most talented player, Valdo. If any of you saw Brazil on their recent European tour, Valdo, the left-sided midfield player, but he's been called up to play in the Pan American Games. And that call came 4 hours before Grêmio were due to leave for Europe. And Valdo wasn't best pleased. He wants to advertise his talents again over here for a possible move to a European club. So it's been an eventful trip for Grêmio. Good and bad. But the good part will be the winning of the Phillips Cup if they can maintain this 2-1 advantage. indeed add to it. Lima. Has he seen George Veras? He has, but the pass has forced Veras wide. Well, the first sign of trying to use up a little bit of time. Some 19 minutes remaining. Van der Hype. That's nicely done, linking up with Herman. And there were two players to his left, and the percentages on that occasion were in his favour, although it didn't come off for him in that individual incident. As we've said before, it's a settling-in period for René van der Hype, but I'm sure he'll enjoy going to the local restaurant in Neuchâtel and ordering one or two of the pizzas named after him. Not two in the same meal, of course. João Antonio. Oh, Cristobal! And again, Coleman Burke to the rescue. When you think goalkeepers do mature in their late 20s and 30s and even beyond, Coleman Burke in his early 20s has a lot of promise, but Lima tries to beat him here and couldn't, although he didn't force the goalkeeper into the need to save. It was a case for Jogo Completo for getting his angles right, and he was just about covering that near post had the shot been better directed. Van der Hype. Well, the foot was raised, but it was made contact with the ball. It's 3 against 1, and surely Grêmio are going to get it right one time. Lima! Oh dear, oh dear. He's furious with himself. And it stays at 2-1. To the great relief of Xamax and their supporters. Lima got underneath it and it flew over the bar. Direct hit on the top of the Grêmio dugout. Tavares. One or two fireworks going off in the stadium. It's a national holiday in Switzerland tomorrow, August the 1st. Some early celebrations. But they would be a little bit more enthusiastic if Xamax were leading. The most sincere apologies by João Antonio. How to make a referee smile. Here goes Lima again. Oh, and he saw Coleman Burke off his line, and the tradition of Pelé lives on. But first of all, let's have a look again at the embrace, shall we say, by João Antonio. Suter. Corner. So, with 15 minutes left, a situation of some possibility for Xamax. done by Reef. Varidis couldn't make anything of it. Here comes the Grêmio charge again. But they can't get it right. It's giving Xamax a lifeline. In the other game here this evening, Young Boys got a late equaliser and then won it on penalties. Will another Swiss club do the same? Oh, Lima from George Veras. It's super to watch. Van der Hype. Lei Ravello. And the player in space is Herman. Suter, Luti, and it's back with Herman again. And Mazzaropi was being told then by referee Gala to get rid of the ball. The goalkeeper who was penalised in the semi-final for taking too many steps. And the word gets round in refereeing circles. And Bruno Gala was having a very close look. Well, there are players from other countries, of course, who can do that trick over the ball. But when a Brazilian does it, it provokes a special reaction. And he didn't get his free kick. China with a mean expression. It's a good job Bruno Gala was looking the other way. So it's Van der Hype over the free kick. Veridis with the header. The match has retained its pace and its verve right from the start. And the enthusiasm of the Samba band has not wavered much either, making it a highly enjoyable evening here in the stadium in Bern, and I do hope that you're enjoying it as much as I am. Castengo back for João Antonio, and now Lima. Castengo. Lima let it run. Oh, Cristobal did that beautifully. Bonamigo had the final shot. Corman Berth, I think, knew that something would be coming towards his goal, but he couldn't be sure from which direction. Dragged across the face of the goal by Bonamigo. George Veras. Four forward again for Grêmio. Lima, in fact, is slightly deeper this time. Bonamigo given a lot of room, and he didn't make anything of it. The pace has begun to tell. It's been a very pleasant day in Bern, very warm into the evening, as it was on the evening of the semi-final on Wednesday. But they're used to the heat. Alfinete. And there are some looks of recrimination from those Grêmio players in the middle. wonder whether Jan Rietman might be trying to get an interview with some of the samba dancers after the match. He was certainly pleased to renew his friendship with René van der Feyck. And Grêmio are going to make a substitution. Lima is to come off, and Gaucho is getting some reward for his long journey. Travelled through the night. He's only been in Switzerland, what, some 6 or 7 hours. But he comes on with 9 minutes left. He's quite an interesting character. He had a spell playing in Japan. In all the movements around the world market of football now, not too many players end up going to Japan to seek out a living. He's quite a worldly character because of his travelling, and the team coach was telling me last night that they had no worries about Gaucho finding Zurich on his own from Porto Alegre. A much travelled young man. China onside. Coleman Burf has come and is beaten this time by Cristobal, or is he? It's not a penalty, says the goalkeeper. João Antonio wants to say something about it as well. It was worth a second look. He missed the ball, and then what happened? Well, he didn't really get the ball cleanly, but I think Cristobal was quite happy to fall down, and the decision is a corner. Taken by George Veras, met by Coleman Burf and Bonamigo. Gaucho, George Veras, Coleman Burf. Thrills and spills around the Xamax goal. Not for the first time tonight, and maybe not for the last time. Gilbert-Gress is going to make his first substitution for Xamax Neuchâtel. But that will have to wait until the ball goes out of play. Cristobal! Well, he'll surely not come closer to the hat-trick without actually getting his third goal. It's been a catalogue of Grêmio misses in the second half. And now they have a corner. And now Gress wants to take off one of his defenders, Kauta Paredes, and bring on 20-year-old Adrian Kunz. Kunz has come from amateur football and actually started the semi-final in preference to Van der Feyck, the very expensive import, which raised a few eyebrows here in Switzerland. Coleman Burf, good catch. And now Kunz is adding to the numbers forward. And he can really make a name for himself here if he got the equaliser. But Xamax are running out of time. The rhythm gets louder on the drums. But it stays at 2-1. Grêmio aren't home yet, and if they were to lose out at the last, they would really curse themselves. And Luti The little forward was bouncing around off much bigger opponents then, but happily bounced onto his feet. Gaucho. And Coleman Burke is acting as the libero now. Sutter. Pere. Van der Gijp. Found acceleration then, and that's the sort of angle he likes, René van der Gijp. Cristobal, leaving 1 or 2 in his wake. Gaucho and George Veras. Thwarted again. Oh dear. Coleman Burke was almost assaulted then by Gaucho. Just a little angry reaction from the goalkeeper, and it was almost excusable. Gaucho's enthusiasm to make a contribution here, a latecomer to the Grêmio squad. George Veras. And Coleman Burke is getting plenty of practice. He'll be tuned up for the new season. Herman. Van der Gijp. Help at hand from Moitié. Crowd wanting to shoot, and he doesn't shoot very well when he responded to their encouragement, and that's the way it is. Then you get whistled. Grêmio haven't defended quite as well in the second half. 1 or 2 gaps appearing, but João Antonio in front of the back four has done a super job. George Veras, China, Gaucho, Cristobal, the only player up with him, and he's quite a long way away, and Gaucho needed help. Well, another trophy is close. Stengo leaves it to Mazzaropi, who doesn't dwell, to his credit. Attack, the best form of defence for Grêmio here. But they'll just have to pick their passes a little better. They'll look back on this second half with some regret. But that hasn't lessened the entertainment for the crowd. The skill in every respect, but for the last ball, has been beautiful. And this time Astengo believed he got it right, but George Veras is offside. Gress and his team aren't beaten yet. Brief. Just over a minute of normal time. The day that started so badly for Grêmio, well, really true last night, when 4 of their players were arrested. 4 of a squad that was then numbering 16, became 17 when Gaucho flew in. But I must say again that it's an alleged incident, but the players kept by the police from playing in this game. But it started badly for Grêmio, it ended very happily indeed, because Grêmio, the Brazilian team, with that happy knack of winning, they have done it again. They've won the go back when Heinz Hermann was brought down and Robert Le Ravella wrapped in the penalty. But from then on, Grêmio really looked only like adding to that 2-1. And I don't think anybody here in the Bankdorf Stadium in Berna will take issue with Grêmio's success. And he's understandably Harris because he's run the tournament and run it well as usual. Really the organiser here.